Welcome to the BSBLR Show, guys. I'm your host, DR. Today's guest, straight out of San Diego, California, a veteran of 14 big league seasons, an absolute workhorse in his prime. Scratch him down, 200 innings pitched, 200 strikeouts. Great career this guy had. But most importantly, maybe he was a graphic design major. No. Most importantly, Cincinnati Reds Hall of Famer, Aaron Harang. How are you doing today, man?
Good, man. How are you?
Just fantastic, dude. We are going to hop into the baseballer blitz right away. So what this is, Aaron, strikeout if you like it. Home run if you like it, strikeout if you don't. Man, my brain's all over the place. Home run if you love it, strikeout if you don't. Big bat flips after home runs.
Yeah, strikeout.
Strikeout.
Yeah.
ABS challenge system. Home run or strikeout?
Ooh. That's a hard one. It's still kind of new. I guess I got to go home run on that one.
And why is that? Why home run?
You know, I like it in the fact that, you really have to kind of be right on, to get the strike zone. And if you can learn the top half of the zone, I've seen so many calls. Last couple of games I've been to, we were at the Reds game last night, and I saw 3 or 4 that were caught the top outside corners on the strike zone. And, it's definitely deflating to hitters when as a pitcher, when you get that, because most guys don't swing at those pitches. So, I guess I could go either way really with it. It's kind of an up and down.
Yeah, no,
maybe when I was pitching, we used to expand the zone, right? You worked one side of the plate a little more, and umpires would be a little more lenient towards you on maybe the outside half compared to the inside half. So, it's still, I think it's still new. It's still hard to judge fully, but I think it's good for the game.
No, I agree. Like you were saying, like the new pitch that's working is like the backed up high end and slider or curveball. That wasn't even like intentional, but it just clips the zone. And the umpires know that. They just are really good. And I think that's what I've been seeing the most is like these umpires are actually like incredible at their job of knowing the box.
Yeah. And obviously it changes per hitter. Totally. You have Jose Altuve in there. His zone's going to be tiny. You get Aaron Judge in there, his zone's should be huge. So it's
exactly.
But these hitters now they're so focused on knowing that strike zone so well. It's really impressive.
Totally. And going a step further, robo umps, home run or strikeout?
Strikeout.
Dive into that. I want to. Okay. And why is that?
I think and I'm probably contradicting myself too with the ABS and everything else, but there is a human element to the game that is part of it. It's I think it's just one of those things that, you should expect to be some mistakes. That's what makes it different. That's what makes it, nobody's perfect. And, you get into where the zone's got to be so perfect. I think I'm probably putting my foot in my mouth right now. I definitely feel like should be some give and take a little bit. Obviously too, if you have a good rapport with an umpire, now the other team's taken their 2 ABS challenges and lost them. Now how's the game going to go? Right. You can, as a pitcher, if you have a good side with an umpire and he knows you're around the zone, he's probably going to give you a little more pitches. So, I guess that's what you can look at it both ways. And
I completely agree with you, man. My take is kind of similar where it's like, I think there's more context to the strike zone than it is just a box. Like there's more context. It's okay. Like for a guy, especially like you, where you were a precision guy, where your relationship with the catcher is very important. And okay, if your catcher spotted up on the outside corner and you hit a pitch, but you missed by this, like teeny tiny this, it's a ball in the robo zone. But it's like hey, like I earned that strike versus a backed up inside slider that cuts across the zone over here, but it nicks the zone. Like one's a strike and the other one's not. I think there's more context than just a straight. And that's why I like the ABS is it's kind of the mix in the middle. There's a little bit of you get your hey, that was a big mess up, Blue. Like that's way off. Help me out here. But you get the context also.
Yeah. I don't want the backup slider that I totally screwed up on, and oh, oops, that was a mistake by me, but I get rewarded for it. But if I paint one right on the corner that just misses, and I've been sitting out there all day and I'm just missing, that's a hard one to swallow as a pitcher too.
Exactly. And that's where I'm at with that. Because again, and it sounds to me, it's like I get a lot of heat for that take, but there's a relationship with both. And what's it going to do to the catcher position? You take away that, framing becomes not important. And then you're just going to stuff a DH with a good arm back there that can just maybe stuff a ball. And it gets interesting.
Yeah, no, it definitely does. And I think, these catchers, the precision and the way they're working the zone. And I mean, there is an art to working the zone as a catcher, and so, yeah, like you said, you can start getting guys that are just back there that they're throwing back just to throw at them, not trying to earn any of that extra strike or, working a batter even by setting up in to miss to now go away to get that corner. And so, it definitely, there's so many gives and takes to the game, and that's where the human element kind of comes in, and it's going to be missed if it goes too far in one direction.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see how this goes, because the ABS I think is a good kind of stopgap, at least in the middle of this like technology era where it's trending towards all calls being reviewed, everything type of stuff. So I hope it kind of stays here. I don't know. I just from being online, you see a lot of armchair watchers, and again. I love it when the broadcast takes off the box. I love it because it lets you. It's like you have to see it the same way that everybody on the field sees it. There's no one out there who gets the invisible box. Nobody gets that. So for me, it's like I love that.
It totally changes watching the game too. Is having that box up there. You're like, oh, it was so close. It probably wasn't, but it looks really close.
Mm-hmm.
So. And it's hard for them to, can they really move that box that quick, depending on the size of the hitter and the way he's crouched and the way he comes up to in his swing? And there's so many keys to it that, it's not completely perfect, but it does change the element to a game. It makes you really want to trust knowing your zone as a hitter, and I believe the pitcher shouldn't be challenging those ever.
Oh, they don't. They're always wrong too.
Unless it's center cut, that'd be the only time I'm even thinking of it.
Yeah, dude. I'm surprised they've like managers haven't just stripped it from the it's the catchers, hitters. That's it.
The other thing that gets me too is you see there's been a few times. Who was it? I'm trying to remember who it was, but one of the guys was like, almost like he was going to his hat or to his helmet to adjust it. And they're like, hey, yeah, challenge. He's like, no, I didn't want to challenge. I was just adjusting my helmet. Like maybe they need to do it. Like you got to tug on your ear or something something more obvious. But
they pick the thing that hitters do basically after every pitch anyways. Like
guy takes a swing or a check swing and his helmet shifts. He's like, "Yeah, I'm just adjusting my helmet." And now you're challenging whether you swung or not. So. And
you see some guys that are kind of play in between. They're like, they go here and then they're like, "Okay, that was adjusting."
Yeah,
you see
some, right.
You're going for the high five and
the whole deke. Yeah, try and deke the umpires.
Yeah, 100%. Moving on here. So one that might touch home with you: the universal DH, home run or strikeout.
Oh. Strikeout, because I stayed more in tune into the game watching the lineup coming through, because I would go in thinking, okay, I have the pitcher spot coming up in the 4th or 5th spot. If I get a runner on, now how do I pitch to the 8-hole hitter? If we're up a couple and his spot's coming up, they're going to pinch hit for him. If it's a close game, they might not and keep him in there. It might be an easier out. Who's on the bench as a potential pinch hitter.
Totally.
I was thinking, I started later in my career, I started thinking more, ahead an inning as far as that would come up. And, or maybe I didn't have success against that 8-hole hitter. So I was going to pitch him more careful, hoping that they're just going to run the pitcher up there and let him hit or bunt or whatever. And then knowing that I could bunt, managers loved it because now I don't have to burn a pinch hitter.
Mhm.
You're going up to bunt situation.
Good point.
I get it down. I got maybe 2 more innings to pitch now.
Mhm.
You know, if I'm at 70 pitches, they might pinch hit for him where, you know, I was down there, I was getting my bunt down every time.
Mhm.
So I was getting 2 more innings, and, you know, 2 more innings over 20 starts, that's another 40 innings right there. That puts you over that 200 mark for sure.
Yeah, and that's a thing that I think sometimes we don't think of when we see the game now, is that strategical element that you're talking about. Like, how much strategy did you just talk about right there? Right. And now the game it's simple. It's like, all right, your 9 hitters just like, you know, the worst hitter on your team. And there's no, and the pinch hitting situation becomes completely different. Whereas in the NL for years and years and years, that's a massive part. Just like you're saying, if you could either hold a competitive at bat or you're a reliable bunter, like that adds an entire different element to the strategy.
Oh yeah. Well, and for managers too, it's not just here's my lineup, sit back and see what happens.
100%.
They're thinking, okay, who am I bringing off the bench in the 6th inning to pinch hit? Or, you know, they had to strategically.
They were earning their money. They were earning their money.
They were playing a chess game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of playing a Connect Four where, you know, it's just a lineup out there.
Well,
you're playing a chess game, trying to figure out and how to use your whole 25-man roster.
Yeah, no, and speaking of that, I guess like my question for you would be, I guess the game has changed so much, even in like the span, like you haven't been out of the game and might feel like a bit, but it hasn't been that long. How do you feel about the state of the game that it is right now comparatively to when you played?
I mean, I think it's in a good spot. It's, you know, obviously it's very entertaining. It's not the as much of the old school mentality. You know, do I miss the hit and runs? Do I miss the, you know, obviously the stolen bases, pitchers learning to control the running game? I mean, that's obviously hard with the pitch clock, you know, and making sure that you're looking at the hitter by whatever 8 seconds or 9 seconds, and he's looking at you, and now I have 9 seconds to hold that runner. You know, as a runner, it gives them an advantage because I can't hold him out, and then the guy calls timeout. And I understand the timeout, you know, can't have more than the one timeout, otherwise it goes to the ball or whatever. So, you know, and that part speeds the game up, and, you know, it makes the game entertaining, and the fact that the speed of it is a lot faster. So, you know, it's definitely changed. It's advanced, and there's going to always be something that we're going to look at and go, maybe that didn't work, you know?
Totally.
And so,
Totally.
But that's part of it. It's part of it. And, you know, I now working with, you know, high school kids, my own son, you know, and seeing how they watch the game. And, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there's just a lot of advancements in it.
And speaking of that, you were a big part. I mean, obviously in today's game, there's a lot of changing. There was when you came up, and your first year as a rookie, there's a movie about it. Moneyball.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And talk to me a little bit about what that was like. Obviously, you're coming up to the show, and then this new. I mean, obviously, analytics had been in the game, but this is where it kind of had taken a step further. Talk to me a little bit about coming up in that.
Yeah, you know, it was hard because, you know, being the young guy, and then you have that rotation. I mean, those 3 guys. It was 7, 8, 9 innings every night. The only guy that ever got up was Billy Koch most of the time, or Chad Bradford, you know, or Mike Venefro. So it was a lefty side armor, righty side armor, and then a guy that threw 103. So it was, you know, and then you had these other 3 guys that could move it in every direction they wanted to, front to back, up and down, and they're all throwing 93, you know, miles an hour with movement. And so, you know, it was hard. I had to be on my game from the get-go. You know, if I got a runner on in the first or second inning, I'm hearing the bullpen cranking because, you know, those guys didn't get work for 3 days. So, you know, they need to get in there. So, you know, there were some ups and downs, and, you know, obviously you didn't skip those guys because you needed to keep them on their standard routines. And you know, it's funny. I had a conversation with Kent Merker about this. He said he always used to joke. He said, I'm the first guy to throw a no hitter and get skipped my next start. So Glavine, Smoltz, and Maddox could all stay on rotation. So
Insane.
But that's what it was like. It was,
Mhm.
but it was so much fun to watch those guys pitch. I mean, they were all so good and so far ahead for their age. And it was just a fun atmosphere to be in.
Yeah, man. Do you think, I don't know if they accurately depicted that rotation in the movie.
No, I don't know if they even mentioned any of those guys. And I mean, you had your Cy Young Award winner. You had two other guys that were like runner-ups for it. I mean, it was three teammates fighting for the Cy Young Award. You had a league MVP at shortstop, a Gold Glover at third, and then you had amazing outfielders, Jermaine Dye, Terrence Long. I know you had Burnsion not long ago. He was out there. You had David Justice was a backup. I mean, and then the whole movie is about Hatterberg and his consistent bats. And I mean, so yeah, I mean, it was a fun team to be on and a fun team to be a part of. And I mean, even that whole 20 wins, that was insane. It was like we were, 5 days from getting dumping the whole team off and down, I think we were down like 7 games or something, going that stretch for 3 weeks. And now we're up 3 in the league, in the division. So, I mean, who knew? It's crazy.
That's crazy. What was it like when that run was going on, when you're winning all those games? Every steak tastes a little bit better. What was that like?
Oh gosh. I mean, you had 3 weeks of high-fiving each other. And when we lost, if I remember right, it was like we lost 3-2 to the Twins. And we were like all in the dugout, like, what do we do? We didn't even know what to do because we were like so used to, for 3 weeks, you're just going out and shaking hands and having a good time, and you lose that one and you're just like, oh, this stinks. And I think we turned around and went on another run of like 5 games or something right after that. So it was but it was, every guy was a part of it. There wasn't, you weren't relying on Miguel Tejada every night.
No.
You weren't relying, it was the guys in the rotation or the guys in the bullpen came in to shut it down, and then the offense jumps on the team late. And, it was like that cohesive group and just that groove that, you just kind of, that you had the ebbs and flows, but everybody was riding the wave at the same time. It was awesome.
That's so cool. And now let me talk to you about a little bit of your time in the Reds. First of all, we asked the important questions here. Who wins a wrestling match, you or Adam Dunn?
Ooh, I don't know. That would have been a definite heavyweight match to watch.
we got 6'7", 260 has got you listed, and I think you had 6'6", 285 done for his.
I think we were probably about between 265 and 275, and it was, we had a huge squad for a couple of those years. You had Austin Kearns, who was a monster. You had William Opeña, who was a monster. Griffey was not a small fry either. He was a big dude too. And, then you had a couple guys out in the bullpen that were good size. And I mean, it was, we definitely could have competed in any kind of Royal Rumble or whatever.
No doubt.
With that crew.
No doubt. Brothers of Destruction. There could have been something. You and Dunn could have.
Oh, and Casey. I mean, Casey's nuts for WWE too. So it's like he's all into that. So he's probably first one out there. He was going to come out and fly off the rope somehow.
Not a lot of brawls that year against the Reds, I'd imagine.
No. That was but that was a fun group. So
yeah, no, absolutely. And I got to ask, your time in Atlanta, was that skeleton mask yours? Why did you have it in the dugout? And why was Alex Wood the target? Help me.
I love Woody, man. He was a young guy. I kind of took him under my wing, kind of just making sure he was, kind of teaching him the ropes and teaching him like, hey, this game's fun. You still have to have fun. Be serious once you get between the lines, and then you can have fun at other times and just know when to kind of be loose too. Cause a lot of the younger guys you see, they get uptight and, then they start playing tight and it kind of spirals around the whole team. So, Yeah, I think I had it. I got it as like we were going to New York or something early in the year and it was cold. And so I just was like, we were joking around, getting something fun. And so I ordered on Amazon or whatever. And it was in my locker, and so I'm like, I'm going to go up and just go down and just stand next to him and kind of see if I can get him to jump or something. And so, you know, that's all the fun times when, doing that kind of stuff and keeping it loose and keeps the dugout loose and the guys having fun. So.
And when you were coming up, was there ever, like when you first were in the show, was there ever a player that you were starstruck by or that you played against or with?
Uh, it was funny. I talked about it in my speech was the first time I stepped on the mound and they announced Griffey coming to the plate. And it was like, I had to step off the mound and take a breath like, holy crap. Like I played this guy in video games, dude, and I'm facing him now. And first time he ended up hitting a double down the left field line and faced him. I think I got him out. I got him to pop up and I don't remember what I did the third time, but then the next year I get traded over and I was talking to him, asked him for a signed bat. And he goes, how many homers did I ever hit off you? And I go, none. He's like, dang it. He said, yeah, every time he signed for a guy, if he hit a homer off him, he would write down, yeah, and that extra homer, that bomb that I hit off you, he would go back and find out if he hit a homer off him. It was really funny. So
that's awesome, man. That's awesome. What was it like being in that dugout? I mean, you had some stars there with you. I mean, you played with Hall of Famers, Barry Larkin for a little bit, and Scott Rowland was there for a couple of years that you were there. What was it like in the clubhouse there?
I mean, they did a great job, just keeping everybody loose. Lark was great. I still talk to Lark quite a bit. We'll randomly text each other, and obviously, if whenever I'm out in Cincinnati, I'll see him, or out in spring training. He's always out in spring training. But to have those guys that did it in a very hard-nosed era of baseball, they had a good way of keeping it loose too. And making sure you weren't playing tight. They would, they'd mess with you. They would kind of razz on you and stuff. And I found out, later on, they always told me, they said, listen, if we're not razzing on you and getting on you, then you worry about something, that you're not doing something right. If we're busting on you and kind of staying on you about stuff, then they see something in you and they expect big things out of you. So, that's why I always try to keep it loose with guys, and, because it does breed into the clubhouse, and it does change the dynamic of a dugout when you have guys that, aren't there to, be part of the team.
Yeah.
So,
and it's 162. It's a long.
It's a long time. It is a long stretch of time, and that's not including the 6 or 7 weeks of spring training that you're with each other.
Yeah.
So it's you gotta all be on the same page, all have a fun time, and those guys always did a great job, keeping it loose.
Was there ever a story? I know you're talking about how some of the old guys were razzing the young guys. Was there ever a story that comes to your mind about that time?
Funny one, and I'm sure it's been talked about before, but I remember we did our NCAA pool. So coming out of spring training, we had all the pool stuff, and I think it was Josh Fogg ended up winning the pool, and Griffey was the commissioner and everything else. And so Josh was like, hey, am I going to get my paid and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you'll get it. We come back from a road trip and we're all in the clubhouse, and this guy walks in with his big, huge push cart and boxes stacked on it. Armed guard comes pushing in. Mr. Griffey, where do you want this? Oh yeah, we're going to put it over here. He paid out Fogg, whatever, it was like $1,000 or something in pennies. Coin rolled pennies, like the 50-cent rolls, right? And then it came in a box. So he had a box they stacked them like a pyramid in front of Josh's locker. And he came in and he's like, what is that? He goes, well, that's your payout for the NCAA pool. And Fogg was like, oh my God. I mean, and there's only certain guys out there that can pull that kind of stuff, and Griffey was one of them.
Of course. Yeah.
He was a big prankster. He always he's big kid, man. That's why he got that nickname,
The kid, man.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a pretty funny one. We did that. And, you guys would mess with each other's cars and go move them around, hide them in the parking lot, or you know, uh, take their keys. I think somebody got one of the guys in spring training and took his keys because he was on the road trip. When he came back, they parked the Reds like advertising Tahoe in his parking spot and hung the keys in his locker. So he had to drive the Reds plastered with Reds logo, Mr. Redlegs all over it, and he had to drive it home and bring it back the next day. It was pretty good.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you had some awesome seasons yourself, and not just and to talk about one of your teammates. I mean, you got to witness one of the best Red seasons that we've ever seen. 2010, Joey Votto. Obviously, you got to see Griffey. You got to see a little bit of everything, but you got to see Joey Votto 2010. What was it like when that was going on? I mean, you had to have been in the clubhouse with the guy being like, "This guy is on a different planet right now."
Oh, it was like watching a video game. It was just a whole different. He saw the ball differently that year. I mean, every time he came up, it was a quality at bat. Whether he's fighting off pitches to get that one mistake to hammer, it was ridiculous to watch. So that was a lot of fun, and having him, and he's only a couple years in the league and playing like that. It was great to have him at first base and know that, oop, there went my earbud. Know that he's going to be out there putting up runs for you. So it was a lot of fun to pitch behind him and know that he was, and he brought a lot to the team. I mean, he was actually way more ahead of analytics stuff than people even knew at the time. So I heard some recent story that he was like hired his own analytics guy to kind of find tendencies of pitchers and what counts they throw this pitch. And it's like,
did you see the umpire one where he was talking about he would know the tendencies of the umpires and what they would call. So like, especially what we were talking about, like there's a reason we're talking about one of the best on base percentages I can think of in my lifetime,
Yeah.
And there's a reason why he's like, oh, hey, Jim back here, he likes that outside corner. So I got to make sure I'm fighting like ahead of the game with that stuff. That's incredible.
I'm protecting that outside corner and take my chances with him missing a call in or something, so it's crazy. And, but that's just where he was at. And that's what made him who he was.
100%. I mean, you're looking at a Hall of Famer in my eyes, but right here, we got a Reds Hall of Famer right here in front of us. 2006 though, man, you were on a completely different level. I mean, we're looking at 234 innings pitched, started 35 games, led the NL in wins, strikeouts, and you had the most complete games. That's true workhorse right there, man. Does your arm still hurt today and feel that year?
No, I go out to Reds fantasy camp and face the Reds fantasy campers. And 2 weeks ago, I threw batting practice to our high school team. And, when I throw batting practice, I cannot dial it down. I hit so many guys if I try and dial it down because I start aiming, right? Yeah. I have the mat moved all the way back to the front of the mound, and I'm still letting it rip. And these guys are like, how do you do that? I'm like,
that's all I got.
I mean, it is what it is.
One speed, baby.
Well, and I'm still out. I'll still go out and play long toss with my son. He's a freshman in high school, and so, yeah.
So what do you think's different? I mean, obviously we're talking in today's game where arm injuries are rampant and it's a huge part of the game. And here I am talking to you. I mean, obviously there's something deep down in you that there's some good health genetics maybe, but what do you think's different from how you trained and now what we have now?
I think I was very repeatable. My mechanics were simple, very repeatable. I had guys telling me when I was younger, coming up, they're like, hey, just repeat your mechanics consistently, right? Don't change change your arm angle a ton. Don't, get your arm out front, get that good extension, but don't be herky jerky in something that you can't repeat consistently, because, it starts from your feet up. If your feet aren't set right or lined right and coming down landing properly, then now all of a sudden your, front knees flying open, which is pulling your front side open, and now your arms dragging to the side. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many things. And being a bigger guy, there's a lot more moving parts, right? So, for guys that were smaller, it was easier to kind of get away with that stuff. Big guys, when you're throwing like that, you don't have that luxury of getting away with it. So, and I took my days off. If we had a off day that we were traveling, even if I was pitching the next day, I didn't throw.
Mhm.
Yeah. I would take my day off because you didn't get many of them. And then I would really stack and watch, how many pitches, how many throws I was making during the week, how my long toss was. Everybody kind of freaks out at my warm-ups. All high school kid, hey, coach, how long did it take you to, warm up? Oh, yeah, my warm-ups, my bullpen session before the game and on my side day were like 52 pitches.
Mhm.
And that's before I even went in a game. And guys are like, how? I didn't just start doing it out of the blue. I trained myself to get to that point. But I learned my body. I learned when to, if I tried to throw a side day and I wasn't feeling right, I'd shut it down and I'd throw the next day. It's like just not trying to push through all that kind of stuff. A little different once you're in the game.
Totally.
You're going to push through and try and grind and get through it, right? I got 5 days to figure it out before my next start.
Yeah.
So, but if you continue to do it, it only takes a handful of bad, repetitions to get you out of sync, and it takes 10 times that to get you back into sync. So, trying to, make sure and get all your mechanics right and in tune and ready to go and flowing in the same direction every single throw. Every throw has a purpose.
Yeah.
I wasn't out there just slinging it around just to.
So what would your solution? What would Aaron Harang's solution be to getting us back from so many arm injuries and everything that we're seeing in today's training and how it's gone so far south?
If I had to say anything, it's you can overtrain yourself to hurt yourself. Obviously, rest is important. And each person's different. That's the hard part. Nobody is the same, right? Every pitcher that's ever pitched is not the same as the next guy.
Totally.
So, making sure that something might work for me that it doesn't work for the next guy, but you have to learn that stuff by experimenting with it and seeing how it works for you. Because I had veteran guys that talked to me about stuff and I would try it and it didn't work. And then I was trying to think, 10 years in, and I had a pitching coach go, hey, let me see your changeup. I showed him my changeup and he's like, you're throwing a 4-seam changeup and you throw a ton of 2-seamers. What's with that? And this is 10 years in the big league.
Like, I don't know.
Right? Well, yeah, my changeup was like my 4th pitch. And he goes, well, let's make it your 3rd pitch. And I said, I can't throw it like a normal 2-seam changeup because I feel like I try and turn it over. And he goes, okay, throw it across the seams. So if I'm, instead of, throwing it with the seams in the same direction, I crossed it up and I threw it and he goes, it's spinning the same.
Yeah.
And he goes, you feel more comfortable throwing like a 4-seamer, but it's moving like a 2-seamer. Really? Tried it. Boom. All of a sudden I got a change up that's like a 3-pitch instead of a 4-pitch. And I was
that's crazy. 10 years in.
This is 10 years in, and so, and that's how you stay in it. You have to tinker with stuff. You always, I learned a cutter the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And, I tried throwing one for years. And one of my teammates was like, oh yeah, I started throwing that. And I take a 4-seamer and I quarter turn it and I throw it like a 4-seamer. Really? Started playing catch with that. Boom. All of a sudden I got a cutter and I'm like,
just playing,
like just goofing around, but, and that's how I tell all these kids that I talk to in high school, you work on this stuff when you're playing catch. and then you feel comfortable playing catch, and then you take it to the bullpen mound,
Mm-hmm.
start throwing it on the bullpen mound until you get comfortable with it, and then you start throwing a game and you pitch it, throw it until you're comfortable in the game. And sometimes it's not going to be there, but you still got to try and throw it and work around it, because there's been games in the 4th inning. I didn't have a slider the first 3 innings, which was my 2 pitch. And all of a sudden the 4th inning, it shows up, and now I can throw it anytime, any spot I want. And, they're swinging at it every time, where the first 3 innings, they were taking it every pitch. So, I mean, that's the chess game.
Yeah.
In the sport, is you got to stick with it sometimes, even though you're not getting the results you necessarily want. All of a sudden it'll take one time that you feel something and the light goes off and it's like, oh, there it is. That was it. So
that's crazy. Hey, I got to switch gears. You were a part of a historic moment, but not for you. Pedro Martinez's 3,000 strikeout.
Yeah.
What do you remember from that?
Well, I was his 3,000 strikeout. I mean, yeah. Who gets the 3,000 strikeouts anymore? I'm in history books. It might not be, it's not for the best thing, but it's still something.
That's cool, man. Did you know it when you were walking up to the plate? Was it because could you tell? Could you feel it?
Well, no, I mean, obviously I wasn't trying to strike out at that. I was trying to hit the ball,
of course,
but he was just so nasty. Even in the minor leagues, when I was with the Rangers in the minor leagues and we played the Red Sox would come up to Port Charlotte, literally, and Al Nipper was our pitching coordinator. Anybody that wasn't pitching on a backfield or on a travel day, any minor league pitcher, had to go in and watch just his bullpen, watch him warm up. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. Like he took a towel and he laid it across the plate. The catcher would lay it across the plate. All right, I'm throwing my changeup with that lane right there, and he'd throw his changeup, and it would like almost right over the towel, and then all right, I'm throwing my breaking ball. Here we go, and he'd throw it right over, and I'm just like, then he'd set it up for his 2-seamer. Here's his 2-seamer, and he's throwing it right over the top. It was just one of the most impressive things and so I was like, dude, I want to try. If I'm throwing bullpens like that, that's pretty impressive. So it was cool to watch, and yeah, to face him though, man. I wasn't even a full-time hitter, and I heard those guys complaining about it. I'm like, whatever, I'll take my chances. Maybe I get a hit. I mean, I got a few hits off some Hall of Famers, and that's my claim to fame on that.
Hey, you went yard off Randy Wells, man. Hey, don't
I do have one homer. Yeah, and yeah. So anybody, you weren't a hitter. Oh yeah, I got a 3-run jack though in the big league. Sorry.
Hey, do you?
Yeah. So and a couple of my buddies that played, they played in the minor leagues and stuff, and they still, dude, we can't say anything. You still got a bit jack in the big leagues. It might have been one. I did get 3 RBIs on it too, so it wasn't,
That's a big one.
Yeah. Tough part was we lost 4-3, so that one hurt.
Hey, that's not the cool.
Maybe we don't say it, but yeah, my wife being at Wrigley too, she was jumping up and down. She thought she was going to get beers thrown on her. She said that.
Oh man, no, that's incredible, man. I mean, do you miss hitting? Do you miss hitting out there? Was there some part of it that you enjoyed? I know you were talking a little earlier about like the bunting and the strategic side of things. Was it like a weird challenge for you? Because that's what I always think when I see because it's not like you were training hitting and from high school to the major leagues. Basically, you're just kind of sweet. Now I'm hitting now.
So I'll tell you, this one is my first at bat. I hadn't taken an at bat since high school. And I'm with the A's, and we were playing interleague against the Giants, and I'm facing Russ Ortiz when Russ Ortiz was 96, 97, just gas. And I remember walking up to the plate, and Benito Santiago was catching, and he looks up at me and he's like, "Damn, you a big guy." And then I don't remember who was umpiring, but they said, "Hey, Rook, you ready for this?" And I turned around and looked. I said, "Nope, sure not." And so. Yeah, I laugh about it. And I got in the box and I watched the first pitch, and I looked at Santiago. I go, dude, how am I supposed to hit that? I don't think I can hit that. And he laughed, you know. Next pitch, I was so far in the bucket, and Russ threw a pitch right down the middle, and I missed it by about 8 inches off the end of my bat. I mean, it was such a typical pitcher swing. Just I'm trying to BP, go deep kind of swing, and yeah, I didn't stand a chance. But it, you know, from going from high school and never seeing a pitch until, and I'm in the American League, so it's not like in AAA, AA I got to hit either.
Nothing.
You know, nothing. So it was high school, and 6 years later, you know, the only time we ever got to hit batting practice is if we threw a complete game shutout. Then in the minor leagues, I had a couple pitching coaches. They were like, "Hey, you throw a complete game shutout. I'll let the pitchers, you guys come out early and hit batting practice." So it was like we were cheering each other on, like, "Yeah, I got, you know,
go."
Yeah. And so I got it a few times for us, which was kind of cool. Was cool, but yeah, it didn't happen very often because in the minor leagues they're a lot stricter on our pitch count. So
that's crazy, man. Oh my gosh. Talk to me about, speaking of career, or about complete game shutouts. Talk to me about you calling your shot in your first complete game shutout.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we were facing the Cardinals, 04, and that was, I mean, talk about a stacked team. You had Edmonds leading off. No, Tony Womack was leading off. Edmonds was hitting second. Larry Walker's hitting third. Pujols was fourth. Roland's fifth.
Hall of Famer.
I mean, it was ridiculous. And Tony Womack had only 2 hits off me until the 9th inning. But I'm facing Edmonds, Walker, and Pujols is the last 3 guys I got in the 9th. So, and I'm still, I don't think I was at 100 pitches yet, or I was teetering 100 pitches at that point. So I go out, I get Edmonds out, and got Edmonds out. Walker got a hit, and I had gotten Womack out. Womack was the first hitter, so I was facing 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I got Womack out, got Edmonds out. Walker with 2 outs. I threw him a piece of trash, backdoor curveball just to try and get him to swing at something on the chalk, you know, in the right hand back, and he flicks it to left field through the 55 hole, right? And so who else is coming up? Well, they got Danny Graves and warming up in the pen, you know, all-star closer, and Dave Miley came walking out and was marching out, and you know, I haven't seen him raise his hand yet, so I'm like, okay, you know, hey, I got this. He gets out to the mound. He goes, "Hey, what do you got?" I said, "Listen, I know Albert's going to try and he's going to take 1 shot to juice me, and I'm going to throw him a first pitch slider. He's going to roll over, hit a ground ball to Lark, and then you can come out and give me a high five after I throw my first complete game." And he goes, "Okay, cool." And he just turned around and walked off. And first pitch, slider down and away, rolled over to shortstop. Game over. And it was like one of those freak things, you know, but I was so committed. And I asked him, I go, why'd you keep me out there? He goes, "You gave me an answer that like you knew what you were doing." He said, "I couldn't go, He goes, "You were so committed to what you were doing," and told me that before I even got out there. I was like, okay, I gave him 1 shot, you know, see what happens. And Casey hit a solo homer off of Chris Carpenter that game, so it was 1-0.
1-0 CG Shutty. That's
against that team too. So that was pretty rad.
Oh my gosh! I mean,
pretty rad experience.
Oh my gosh! And you don't see that as much. I've seen it in the last couple of weeks. You saw Mizorowski kind of waved off Pat Murphy. That style of baseball is the best. The Mad Maxes of the, you know, they come out there is like, nah, like give me it. You gotta love that stuff.
I did that when I threw my 10-inning game against the Brewers, and I remember facing Chris Capuano, and me and him were roommates or carpool buddies in the Cape League when we played together in the same team. Yeah. And so he was we were facing each other, and you know, ends up getting through the 9th inning, and I wasn't to 100 pitches yet, and I come out after 9. I think I had like 97 pitches or 98 pitches, and Pete McCannon was the interim manager at the time. And so I come walking out, and he's standing at the bottom of the dugout, and I walked right past him, said, I'm not done yet. And I went and sat down, and he came over. No, you're done. I said, I haven't hit my pitch count yet, Pete. I'm going. No. I'm like, I'm going back out there. You can come out and try and drag me off the field, but I don't like your odds of that. And so he was like, okay, go for it. And as I'm walking out, I'm like, hey, give me 13 pitches. He's like, all right, cool. I went out 11 pitches later. I'm coming back in, and he's standing at the bottom of the steps again, hand out. And I go, I still haven't hit my pitch count, Pete. And I walk past him, and yeah, he was like, he came down. He goes, listen, I might be an interim manager. They'll still fire me if I let you go back out. And I said, oh, just tell the boys to score a run, and then this will all be over. And so finally, afterwards, we got a couple runners on, and I was like, listen, Pete, I'll fine. I'll let you. I'll deal with the 10 inning. I'll take the 10 inning, you know. So, and we've seen each other a few times. And he was actually bench coached in Philly my last year playing, and he would tell that story all the time. Yeah, Ring said he was going to beat me up, and you know, like Brett, I was going to have to wrestle him off the field. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh, man! And to get a 10 inning no decision is just
yeah. There's only a handful. Like somebody asked me about that recently, and so I looked it up, and there's like a list, and the list of names that you're looking at was like Doc twice, Millwood, Mulder, myself. I mean, like the handful of.
I know Holiday.
Guys,
Roy Holiday was one.
He had two. He had two. He had two of them. Yeah, Kevin Millwood had one. Mulder had one when he was in St. Louis. I'm trying to think. There was another big pitcher too. But like the list of names, it's amazing to look at and
not
to be a part of that list.
Yeah, not Joe Schmoes on that list.
It was all horses. It was all guys that were taking the ball and taking it until their arm fell off, pretty much. So.
Oh man, incredible! I mean, you did that your whole career. I think that's a big thing. I think about Aaron Harang, other than beating my Cubs, which I didn't love that, but it was a workhorse and really put it together. I mean, over your career, obviously you accumulate all these stats, and then now you see yourself in the Reds Hall of Fame. What was that like when you got that call? What was that like just experiencing that?
Oh gosh, you know, it was crazy because, you know, and my kids were really into like the voting and doing all that, and their friends were voting, and you know, we saw a lot of friends in Cincinnati that we keep in touch with, and when I got that call, that Rick Walls, the head of director of the Reds Hall of Fame, texted me and said, hey, you got 10 minutes to chat. It's not about fantasy camp. And I was like, and I knew, obviously I knew the voting stuff was going on, but I was like, I'm not getting involved and not, you know, get myself locked into it. Cause it's like, if it doesn't happen, you know, it would be tough, but like, you know, there's another time. And, so when he calls me, I had it on speaker, and my kids are in the background, and they're listening. And my wife was on the other line, my daughter's phone, listening. And yeah, when he told me, it was just like, oh my gosh, like, can't believe that. And you know, you're not thinking about that when you're out there taking the ball. I'd been a part of the galas and the big weekend and stuff. I was there for when Barry Larkin went in. I was there for when Eric Davis went in, and to as a player to be a part of that and be around it, and knowing those guys from having been around them, having them in spring training, having them, you know, come hang out in the clubhouse and do that and be around, it was a really cool thing. And so when I was doing my speech, I was like, you know, I said that to the current team. I said, listen, there's only so long you're going to get to wear this uniform and wear it with this red logo. Like, take pride in this. Every time you take the mound, every time you take an at bat, like, you know, you're not thinking about getting to this point, but you put in quality at bats and be a quality teammate and be there to support your, you know, and be a team player and do the little things. You know, you never know how long it's going to be. And I mean, I went from getting traded over as a trade deadline potential guy, you know, AAA big league guy, to now being there and being a mainstay for opening day for five years in a row. And, you know, you don't really think of it. And then at the end, you look back and dang, I put up some numbers and, you know, but I wasn't focused on it. It was just part of being out there and getting my innings in. And I knew the strikeouts and all that stuff was going to add up over time. But after looking at it when I was done, it was like, wow, that was an impressive run.
Hell yeah, man. Absolutely. And I got to ask, obviously now with you being a coach, what has that transition been like? Obviously that's what I do for a job and I enjoy it a lot. You going from, you know, the career you had to now trying to pass that on. What's that been like?
It's been a lot of fun. You know, I think the one thing is everybody early on, everybody, oh, ex big league guy coming in, he's going to be a real hard nosed coach and I'm like the complete opposite of that because I know how hard it is.
Yeah.
You know, I've been at the highest level and I know what it takes to stay at the highest level. And I know it's hard. And so, you know, more of anything, I try and preach the mentality part of the game, the mental aspect of it. Because, you know, listen, I've seen great players that have the worst mental game that get passed by guys that aren't the best, but their mental game and their discipline is so much greater. And that ends up being, you know, playing more of an outcome of anything than just the raw talent of it. So I try and push that on to my guys like, hey, listen, you're gonna screw up, you're gonna make mistakes. It's what you do after the mistake, right? Let the mistake happen one time, make the adjustment, focus on the next pitch. You can't, whatever just happened to you, you can't take it back. That, you know, it doesn't work like that. So, you know, and it's in their life skills too.
Totally.
You know, it's thinking about what you're doing in your life, the decisions you make in your you know, your personal life. I mean, you know, it can have an overall effect on everything you do. So
no, 100%. How do you bounce back from failure, right? Like that's, I think what you'll see a lot with those guys. I mean, you're high school level kids. Like when they mess up, like it could be the end of the world in their head, right? So it's how do you bounce back from that, whether it's a terrible outing on the mound or an 0 for 2 with 2 Ks or whatever it may be. You know, I think that's absolutely huge.
Yeah, and I tell the hitters, I go, listen, you can go 0 for 4, 0 for 5 in a day, strike out 3 or 4 times, but you throw a guy out at the plate or you make a game-saving catch. Nobody remembers your 0 for 5. They remember the catch. They remember that you throwing the guy out. They remember you're being an aggressive base runner and stealing a base in a key situation or pressing and making the other team make a play on you. And now you score the winning run and we win by 1. You know, so it's like, it's not just about what's in the box, it's what's between the lines.
100%.
It can, you know, define your day, each game. So, you know, there's so many different aspects of it. But once people kind of look at it, you kind of see them too, when you tell them about hitting, oh, I'm only hitting 2 something. I'm like, if you took 10 pitches in the same spot in batting practice, even off a machine, how many times would you cleanly get a base hit that if there was a defense out there, how many times would you legitimately get a base hit? If you're 3 for those 10, that's Hall of Fame average.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm like, that's what makes this game great. It's hard.
So hard.
and that's what divides the average player from the elite player is what they do and how they can jump back from a mistake that's made.
I love it.
What do
man.
they do the next time?
Absolutely. I got one last question for you. Who is the greatest player that you've ever seen or played with or against?
I think, well, it depends. Are you talking hitters, pitchers? What? I mean, obviously, I'm partial to Tony Gwynn, being a San Diego kid, being a San Diego State Aztec. That's where he went to school. You know, you're just partial to. I mean, and growing up watching him hit, I did get to face him one time.
Really?
In college, we played. So San Diego State would play an exhibition game against the Padres right before the season would start. So we'd go play it at it was Jack Murphy Stadium or Qualcomm Stadium at the time. And my freshman year, I got to face him, and I faced the lineup. It was the 97 team, and I faced 9 hitters, and I got 1 out. I gave up 8 runs. I gave up Tony hit a double off me that I thought was one of the nastiest pitches I'd ever thrown, and he just seeded it right into right field. Ricky Henderson took me deep, and I got the pimp job from him too. The pimp job and the hop, which he was kind of the epitome of the trot, the home run trot, right? The celebration, and I talked about the bat flips earlier, whatever. It's, I'm like I said, I'm not fine with it. I guess I'm fine with it if you got a pitcher that's going to show a guy up and chainsaw him when he strikes him out or does something, there's that give and take, right? You get a guy that just goes out there, boom, strikes you out. Like, you need to throw the bat all the way to the dugout, like I know most of the time I didn't see it, if it was a jack, like you hit me, you knock one 400 plus feet off me, you pull it to left field and you hit it 425. I'm not paying attention to what you did. I'm trying to see how far you hit it, but the ones that barely go out and the guys doing all this, those always bothered me. But
no, and Ricky took out the first base dugout on his banana peel.
he was high-fiving him as he was coming around first base, he'd go that way. But listen, hey, Hall of Fame dude.
Oh yeah, you earned some of your stripes along the way.
You do. Hey, Albert was going to take me deep, but if he wanted to stand there and watch it. But most of those guys, Roland always said, he goes, I always wanted to be the guy that got around the bases so quick that they forgot that I hit the homer off him. That was his thing. That's why he always ran so hard. He said, I wanted to hit it, and I wanted you to not realize I just hit a homer off you, so I got around the bases so fast that you really didn't think too much about it. Didn't give much time to think about it.
Give me that same pitch the next time.
Yeah, right. And make that same mistake.
Yeah, please.
So, yeah,
awesome.
But yeah, hey, Tony Gwynn was my I think my number one watch, and Griffey was right there behind him. So
that's awesome, man. Hey, thanks again, Aaron. Appreciate you hopping on, dude, and spending your time here and answering these questions and being so candid about it. I really appreciate your time. But thanks for listening, guys. Go follow us on Spotify. Subscribe if you see us on YouTube. I will be back again on Monday talking some more ball with you guys. We will talk to you soon. Peace.